mayor, I think, has to be an additional advocate on the state level. So I want to get your debt down so that you don't have to pay for that for a whole generation. I think that we're also the advocate with the business community. There was a time when the mayor pulled all the businesses in town and said, okay, which school are you going to adopt? And that's basically my attitude is, you know, we had a time when we had these huge luncheons and all the business community would come together and they'd all pledge to do something for the schools. And we sort of broke that during the time when Jerry Brown was pretty much focusing only on his charter schools. We need to have a mayor who stands for all the kids. And there are enough businesses, big and small, that we can build those partnerships and that adoption. The third thing is that I've already talked about some wraparound services, and there are some that you may not even know. Over the years, I've gotten the school district to take over the maintenance of some of the ball fields, because we have great field teams, and the district has a hard time doing that. I've talked about bringing librarians into, but I think, you know, one of the things I'll hope to do is I'd like to go back to our original program that Elihu Harris sponsored to get people to work with third graders too. So I've got my program for 2,000 tough kids, but I also think we really do need to get third graders to read at grade level by third grade. That's one of your important benchmarks in the strategic goal. And we used to have employees. So I want to get city employees and business people all over the city back reading to that first through third level to get everybody reading at third grade. You probably know more than me that California still plans its prisons based on how many kids read by at grade level by the third grade, because we know that if a kid doesn't read at third grade, they're likely to fall behind. They're not as likely to graduate from high school. If they're not going to graduate from high school, they're more likely to get on the streets of Oakland and be more involved in crime. And they just do this mathematical formula to predict how many kids they're going to need, how many prisons they're going to need. And that's really sad. And so doing that kind of mobilization using city employees as well as people in the community, particularly people of my generation. A lot of the people of my generation are nearing retirement. We're healthy. We're going to be politically active. We're the boomers. We're spoiled. We're not going to get off stage. So I call it the boomerang movement. I'm hoping to get a lot of volunteers from my generation to go on in and also help at that level. Lastly, I was talking about the Ed Cabinet. We used to have, under Harris's administration, we actually used to have a cabinet where all the education institutions in town met. And what's particularly critical is that the city has a very big role to play in job training programs, and we fund a lot of the job training programs. So I'd like to see us meet regularly, at least once a month, because it's particularly important now. There's going to be millions, if not billions of dollars spent on infrastructure in the city of Oakland. But the question is, even though we have set-asides to give those jobs to Oaklanders, will those jobs really go to Oakland kids? So I want to do and build on what I did as a school board member, to have high school internships, do a 2+2 where the kids are in community college and taking high school classes and or apprenticeship programs, and follow them all the way through so that we make sure that we hire Oakland young people for these jobs, and that's particularly important. The city itself will lose about a third of its workforce, 1,700 jobs as boomers retire. I want every one of those to be filled by an Oakland school kid who interned with us as a high school student, who came back to work for us in the summer when they were in college, and then eventually when they were ready, can't come to work for us. And especially with police and fire, because 90% of my police and firefighters live outside of the city of Oakland, and these are amazing jobs, and they take up 74% of the budget, so I hate 74% of the budget goes to somebody else's community every night.